Tomb Raider: The Legend of Lara Croft is an 8-episode anime series set to premiere on Netflix on October 10th. IGN spoke to showrunner Tasha Hua, asked her a bunch of questions, primarily about the show, but they also got into some of the history of Tomb Raider and see how it goes. They start off talking. She confirms that they're using a Survivor trilogy setting, essentially. Out of the three, I'll get to those in a second here, but it talks about, here's a part. I think there's something we definitely wanted to explore in terms of Laura's womanhood, because historically she's been written by men, so she has been kind of this cold figure, and I know she's not like that. So that was the exciting part, to sort of see behind the veil of who she is in her everyday life. That's not true, especially the Survivor series timeline. Those games were written almost exclusively by women, and even the other games. There's been there's a article here about how to play the Tomb Raider games in chronological order. Talks about how there's the different timelines and stuff. Speaking specifically of the Survivor trilogy timeline, which is here, these were, like I said, these were almost exclusively written by women. I mean, it's always hard to say, because in terms of who technically wrote this and that and stuff, but in terms of like the stories and everything, because they've been focusing on trying to get as many female writers as they possibly can. But even like with some of the older games and stuff, I mean, I think over half of the games have been written by women, either primarily or maybe even exclusively or something. It's just one of those dumb things, woman good, men bad kind of stuff. She's a cold figure and so on and so forth. And it goes on. And female influences on her writing and all this kind of crap. And it goes on. And they talk about Haley Atwell doing the voice, which is cool and stuff. And the same animation studio that did like Castlevania and stuff, they're doing this, which is cool. It's going to look good. Powerhouse, by the way. And of course, I know for the Powerhouse, they animated the series off. And it's really cool because 50% of their animators are women. As if that makes a flying fucking bit of difference. Who cares about that? I care about, are you good at your job? I don't care what's between your legs. I mean, Jesus. If you spend any time at all thinking about that kind of stuff, something's going wrong. It's ridiculous. Anyway, it's a pretty long article. I'll link this and the chronological order story in the description box. You can read it for yourself. But it just goes on. She's talking about, what they can do with the animation and so on and such forth, and blah, blah, blah. And then it gets to another point. And so, the themes are very adult. There's still a lot of violence, but the animation, you're right, does allow for it to not feel as graphic. And so it does create a bigger space for more people to enjoy, which hopefully they do. I'm writing it for little girls as much as I'm writing it for big girls. Well, I was glad to see, so that when this thing underperforms, which it likely will, I mean, it's hard to say. We won't be able to get the true judge because Netflix isn't going to reveal the numbers or nothing. But assuming it underperforms, we know just who to blame. It'll be the little girls and the big girls who didn't watch it. Instead, we know what's going to happen if they decide to make any think pieces about this series, which they probably won't. It's probably going to be another turd sandwich that comes and goes like a fart in church. No one ever even going to remember in a handful of months after it releases. But if they do write think pieces about it, they'll say, "Why didn't men watch this stuff? How many times have we heard this show isn't for you? This show is made for women. This show is made for girls." And then all of a sudden it underperforms. It doesn't do very well because they didn't actually make it for women or girls. They made it for activists masquerading as fans, tourists, or whatever you want to call them. And then all of a sudden, why didn't men come enjoy this? We've seen it with movie after movie after movie, TV series after TV series, on and on, right down the line. It's ridiculous. And quite frankly, it got tiresome after the second time it happened. Probably after the first time it happened, to be honest. But to see it still happening now, it just makes you shake your head and you're like, man, how are these people not learning? Anyway, like I said, I'll link this in the description box and read it for yourself. It continues on for a little bit longer, not too much longer. They mention a little bit about the live action Phoebe Waller-Bridge series, which they say here is currently in the works. But then you hear rumors about it might not come out and stuff. We heard that same stuff about the Acolyte. The Acolyte's so bad it might not even come out. Maybe it shouldn't have. Now, in my opinion, I wouldn't have missed it, but maybe some people would have. So maybe like with the Phoebe Waller-Bridge, maybe it should come out because there might be some fans. I personally and not really very interested in it because Phoebe Waller-Bridge is known more for writing comedy, known more for writing satire and things of that nature. I don't want to. I don't want a Tomb Raider like that. But anyway, whatever. Like I said, I'll link this stuff in the description box. You can read it for yourself. The that or the chronological order story and stuff. It's interesting stuff. This interview is okay. Those are like the worst parts. Basically, the other parts are just they're fine. I mean, at least she talks about how much she enjoyed the series and so on and so forth. So that's nice to actually see a showrunner actually show an interest in the content, not totally trashing it. But anyway, whatever. Well, we'll see if it helps. I'm hoping that it does, but I'm thinking it's not going to. Anyway, thank you very much.